Have you ever looked closely at the U.S. Capitol building? I mean, really looked, and thought, why does that look so much like a Roman temple?
Right, like something straight out of antiquity.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, why does American democracy itself, feel so ancient even though the country isn't that old, relatively speaking?
Well, because in a very real sense, parts of it are ancient. The ideas, the structures, things like free speech, citizenship, even the way the government is split into branches.
They didn't just dream those up in Philadelphia.
No, not from scratch. They were building on foundations,
Huh?
ideas, legal systems, symbols, borrowed very intentionally from empires that existed thousands of years before America.
Okay, so that's what we're doing today. This is our deep dive. We're going to trace that blueprint.
Yeah, skipping the overwhelming textbook version.
We're going straight to the core influences, specifically how four major powers, Greece, Rome, ancient Egypt, and even the British Empire, left their mark on the U.S.
Exactly. We want to give you, the listener, a kind of shortcut to understanding that historical depth. You see these institutions today, but there are layers underneath.
Layers of borrowing and adaptation.
Right. And we'll focus on the really key borrowings, the ones that had the most impact. Think of it like tracing the family tree of the American experiment.
Starting right at the beginning, where did this whole idea of power to the people even come from?
Well, that takes us back to ancient Athens.
Okay, let's unpack that. Ancient Greece it is.
Greece is really the philosophical starting point. Athens, specifically. That's where you get democratic rule by the people.
And that was revolutionary at the time, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, the source material really hammers this home. The founders weren't just looking at a voting system. They were tapping into a fundamental shift in thinking.
A shift away from
Kings, emperors, divine right. The idea that power belonged inherently to the citizens themselves. That was radical.
And the founders saw that as like the pure origin of liberty.
They did. But, and this is crucial, they were also pretty critical of Athens.
Oh, how so?
Well, they admired the idea of the people having power, but they looked at how direct democracy actually worked in Athens.
And they saw problems.
They saw instability, maybe even mob rule. They worried it wasn't sustainable for governing a large nation. So they were selective, very selective.
Okay, so they liked the philosophy, but not the exact Athenian model. What specific Greek ideas did they borrow and successfully adapt?
Two big ones come through clearly. Citizenship and equality under the law.
Equality under the law.
Yeah, the Greek concept of isonomia, the idea that everyone, no matter how rich or powerful, is subject to the same laws and protected by the same laws. That's a direct line from Greece into the Constitution, into the Bill of Rights.
That really is fundamental. So the whole American dream idea, in a way, has roots in an Athenian dream of self-determination.
You could definitely say that. Greece gave America its philosophical voice, its core belief system.
But a voice needs a body, right?
Yeah.
A structure to make it work.
Precisely. And that structure, that governmental engineering, that comes largely from Rome. If Greece provided the why, Rome provided the how.
Okay, shifting gears from philosophy to, well, plumbing. The structures of government.
Exactly. And specifically the Roman Republic, not the empire that came later. That's a key distinction the founders made.
What did they take from the Republic?
The big one is checks and balances. The Romans in the Republic were wary of concentrating power. They had two consuls, like co-presidents, who could veto each other.
Yeah.
They had the powerful Senate. They had tribunes representing the people. Power was divided.
Ah, okay. So our three branches, that's a reflection of that Roman idea.
It absolutely is. The idea of pitting ambition against ambition, as Madison might say. The single president, for instance, echoes the consuls, but is constrained term limits, impeachment, Congress watching over.
And the Senate. Is that a direct borrowing, too?
Very much so. The U.S. Senate was consciously modeled on the Roman Senate. The founders saw it as a source of stability, wisdom, a place for deliberation, a necessary break on the perhaps more impulsive House of Representatives.
So they wanted that Roman gravitas.
They did. And there's another layer, too, a moral one. The idea that power is temporary, held in trust for the people.
You mean the idea that the leader shouldn't become a king?
Exactly. And the figure they constantly looked to was Cincinnatus.
The Roman farmer who became dictator just long enough to save the Republic and then went back to his farm.
That's the one. He embodied civic virtue for them. When George Washington voluntarily gave up command of the army after the war.
Instead of seizing power, which he probably could have done.
Right. That was a deliberate echo of Cincinnatus. It was a performance, signaling to the world, we are a republic, not another monarchy or dictatorship.
Wow. That really puts the presidency in a different light. It's not just an office, it's upholding an ancient ideal.
And that Roman influence, it's not just in the laws or the structure. It's literally carved in stone in Washington, D.C.
I mean, the architecture, the pillars, the domes.
Absolutely. All that neoclassical architecture, the marble, the massive columns, that was a choice.
Yeah.
It was meant to evoke the power, the stability, the timeless order of the Roman Republic.
Build it to look like it's meant to last forever.
Precisely. A visual statement of intent.
Okay, so we have Greek ideas, Roman structures. Now, you mentioned Egypt, which feels like a bit of a left turn. How does ancient Egypt fit into this?
Yeah, it's less about government structure and more about, well, symbolism and a certain 18th century fascination.
Fascination.
Remember, alongside the Enlightenment, many founders were involved in things like Freemasonry, which had this deep interest in ancient wisdom traditions, and Egypt was seen as sort of the ultimate source.
Ancient knowledge, mystery.
Exactly. Wisdom, incredible architecture, permanence, maybe even divine order.
And this isn't just some obscure academic point, right? You said we can see it.
Oh, absolutely. Just pull out a $1 bill, look at the Great Seal of the United States.
The pyramid and the eye floating above it.
Pure Egyptian symbolism. The unfinished pyramid representing perhaps strength, endurance, the nation still being built, and the Eye of Providence watching over it. That iconography was deliberately chosen.
Why a pyramid, though? What did that specifically mean to them?
Endurance, permanence. Think about it, what's lasted longer than the pyramids? They also represented a kind of geometric perfection, a mastery of engineering they hoped the new republic would embody.
So it's visual shorthand for strong and forever.
Pretty much. And it's not just on money. Look at the Washington Monument.
It's an obelisk.
Exactly. An obelisk is a distinctively ancient Egyptian form. In Egypt, they stood at temple entrances, often symbolizing the sun god Ra, representing power and connection between the earth and the divine.
So a symbol of pharaonic power right in the heart of the American capital. That's quite something.
It is. It shows how much they wanted to link America, not just to recent history, but to the grand sweep of ancient, enduring civilizations.
Yeah.
They were borrowing legitimacy through symbols. Egypt's legacy, literally engraved onto the landscape.
Greece, Rome, Egypt. Quite the pedigree. But there's one more major influence, and it's the one they fought a war to escape. Britain.
Ah, yes, the great irony. You can't understand the American foundation without acknowledging the massive inheritance from the British Empire.
Despite the revolution.
Absolutely. Think about it. When the revolution ended, they didn't just throw everything British out. They couldn't have. The empire provided the operating system, you could say.
The operating system? What do you mean?
Well, the language, for starters, but crucially, the entire legal framework.
Yeah.
And the basic mechanics of legislative government.
So 1776 wasn't about rejecting British systems entirely, but British rule.
That's the core distinction. Exactly. Yeah. They liked the way the government was structured, the legal traditions.
Yeah.
They just wanted to be in charge themselves, adapted for a republic.
Okay, break that down. The legal system first. How was that British?
American law is built almost entirely on English common law. That's the system based on precedent, on centuries of court decisions, rather than a big static code written from scratch like in, say, France.
And everyone involved already knew that system.
Right. Lawyers, judges, citizens. It was familiar territory. It allowed for legal continuity and stability right from the start. They didn't have to invent a whole new way of doing law.
Makes sense. And the legislative side, Congress.
Look at how Congress operates. The committees, the debates, the role of the speaker. Parliamentary procedure. A lot of that is directly adapted from the British Parliament.
They knew how parliaments worked from the colonial assemblies.
Precisely. They had generations of experience with that model. So they took the mechanisms they knew, the ones developed over centuries in Westminster, and just, well, tweaked them for a system without a king.
So the irony is that the empire they overthrew actually gave them the tools to build their own successful government.
It absolutely did. It's a crucial part of the story. That inheritance, the legal structure, the legislative practices, allowed the new United States to stabilize and function much faster than it otherwise could have. A kind of unintentional parting gift.
Wow. When you put it all together, Greece, Rome, Egypt, Britain. America really isn't one thing, is it? It's this incredible fusion.
It really is a kind of living museum of civilization, pulling together thousands of years of ideas and structures.
Greek democratic spirit, Roman republican order, Egyptian symbols of endurance, British legal and governmental mechanics.
All mixed together. You have the Greek philosophical soul, the Roman structural bones, the Egyptian symbolic skin, and the British procedural muscle, maybe.
That's a great way to put it. And maybe that fusion is part of why America has played such a significant role. It carries lessons from so many predecessors.
I think that's a powerful argument. It's not always about radical invention, but about synthesizing and building upon the accumulated wisdom, the trials and errors of those who came before. It's a cumulative strength.
So a final thought for everyone listening.
Yeah, maybe the next time you see the U.S. Capitol, or even just look at a dollar bill, remember what's behind it. It's not just American history, it's human history.
Behind the pillars, Athens. Behind the laws, Rome. Behind the symbols, Egypt.
Exactly. And it makes you think, doesn't it? We borrowed so much to build our present. What ideas, what structures, what symbols from our time will future civilizations look back on and decide to borrow?